One person asks the same question 3 times. The other goes silent. That silence can look uncaring. The pressure can look controlling. But research suggests the roles can flip when the issue changes. Picture a couple arguing about lateness. One person wants the schedule to change. They repeat the problem, ask for an answer, and push for a promise. The other gives shorter replies, looks away, and finally stops responding. Now change the subject to spending. The quiet person wants a new budget. Suddenly they are the one asking questions. The previous pursuer says this is a bad time and tries to end the conversation. The personalities did not switch in 30 seconds. The position inside the conflict changed. Researchers call this demand, withdraw. One person presses for discussion or change. The other avoids, delays, deflects, or disengages. It is tempting to turn those roles into character labels. One is needy, the other is cold. One cares, the other does not. That shortcut misses the interaction. Demand and withdrawal are moves in a loop. Each move changes what the next move feels like. Suppose Maya says, "Can you answer me?" Leo hears pressure and gives a one-word reply. Maya reads that reply as proof that he is avoiding the issue, so she asks again with more force. Leo reads the extra force as proof that talking will become worse, so he pulls back further. From Maya's side, pursuit feels like the only way to keep the problem from disappearing. From Leo's side, withdrawal feels like the only way to stop the temperature from rising. Both moves make sense locally. Together they build the result neither person wants. The pattern matters because it appears in more than one laboratory conversation. Researchers have observed couples discussing conflicts and have collected reports about arguments at home. Across that work, stronger demand, withdrawal patterns tend to travel with more negative interaction and less satisfying outcomes. That does not mean one silent moment ruins a relationship. It does not mean asking for change is wrong. It means a repeating sequence can become self-reinforcing. The most useful finding is that the roles are not always fixed. One observational study included heterosexual, gay, and lesbian couples. The researchers tested whether simple gender explanations could account for who demanded and who withdrew. The better clue was often who wanted change in the relationship. The person seeking change had a reason to keep the conversation alive. The person defending the current arrangement had a reason to slow it down or end it. Change the issue, and the incentives could change. Another study asked 75 couples to discuss 2 problems, one selected by each partner. The pattern shifted with the topic. When a person's own issue was on the table, that person was more likely to occupy the demanding position. When the partner's issue took over, the direction could reverse. So, "I am the communicator, and you are the avoider," may describe one repeated scene without explaining why the scene keeps happening. A better question is, who needs something to change in this particular argument? That question also reveals why the same behavior can carry different meanings. A repeated question can be an honest attempt to reach clarity. It can also become pressure when the other person has no room to think. A pause can prevent an impulsive reply. It can also become a way to punish someone by making them chase contact. The visible move is only half the story. Timing, purpose, and what happens next complete it. Imagine a conflict as 2 alarms connected to each other. Maya's alarm says, "If we stop talking, nothing will change." Leo's alarm says, "If this keeps escalating, I will say something I regret." Maya talks faster to protect the issue. Leo says less to protect the interaction. His silence makes her alarm louder. Her intensity makes his alarm louder. Neither alarm can be turned off by proving that the other alarm is foolish. This is why the pursue-withdrawal loop can feel strangely mechanical. After enough repetitions, the topic almost becomes secondary. The couple may begin with dishes, a missed call, or a weekend plan. Within minutes, they are fighting about whether one person ever listens and whether the other person ever lets anything go. The original question gets replaced by a question about the process. Will you stay in the conversation? Will you let me leave it? Studies of conflict at home have found that demand withdrawal episodes are associated with fewer positive tactics, more negative tactics, and lower perceived resolution. The design does not prove that demand or withdrawal alone caused every bad outcome. Difficult problems can create the pattern, and the pattern can make difficult problems harder. That two-way possibility matters. It prevents us from declaring one person the villain based on a clip from the middle. There is still a difference between regulation and disappearance. A useful pause has an edge. "I need 20 minutes. I will come back at 8:30. The return point keeps the issue visible while allowing the nervous system and the conversation to slow down. Disappearance has no edge. Whatever. A closed door. 3 hours of silence with no indication whether the conversation will return. The uncertainty becomes part of the conflict. The distinction between a timed pause and indefinite disappearance is a practical way to read the interaction, not a magic treatment tested by every study. The important observable feature is follow-through. Does the person return when they said they would? Can the topic restart at a lower temperature? Does the pause protect the conversation or erase it? Withdrawal research gives a reason to be careful here. In a 21-day diary study of cohabiting partners, withdrawal was connected with punitive partner behavior and with conflicts experienced as less resolvable. The pattern can be a response to a harsh interaction and part of what keeps recovery difficult. That means, "Give me space," and "You do not deserve an answer," should not be treated as the same move. One asks for temporary regulation. The other uses access as leverage. The words may be be similar. The return behavior is not. The pursuing side also has two versions. One version keeps the request specific. I want us to decide who calls the plumber before Friday. It names the issue and leaves room for an answer. The escalating version widens the case. You never take anything seriously. This is exactly what you always do. Now the other person is not answering one problem. They are defending their entire history. Specificity reduces the number of doors the conversation has to walk through. A concrete request can receive a yes, a no, or a counteroffer. A global accusation requires a trial. Notice that this does not ask the pursuer to stop caring or the withdrawer to speak before they can think. It asks both people to make their next move legible. The pursuer can say what change they are requesting instead of multiplying evidence. The withdrawer can say whether they are pausing, disagreeing, or refusing, and when the conversation will continue if it is a pause. That creates a small piece of shared information. The issue is not disappearing. The pressure is not endless. There is another reason arguments feel unfinished even after the decision is made. Resolution and recovery are not the same event. A couple can decide who will call the plumber and still carry the emotional residue into dinner. One person may technically agree while feeling dismissed. The other may feel that every agreement arrives through exhaustion. Longitudinal research on diverse couples has treated recovery after conflict as its own process. Ending the argument does not automatically restore warmth, responsiveness, or trust. A solved task and a repaired connection are related, but they are not identical. Think of three separate meters. The first is decision. Did we choose what happens next? The second is understanding. Can each person accurately describe what mattered to the other? The third is recovery. Can we return to ordinary cooperation without using the conflict as a hidden weapon? An argument can score high on one meter and low on the others. Two people can understand each other and still disagree. They can make a decision without feeling understood. They can fail to settle the issue tonight and still recover enough to speak respectfully tomorrow. This is why winning is a weak measure. Winning may close the first meter by force while damaging the other two. A better replay begins before the loudest moment. Ask 4 questions. First, whose requested change was on the table? That predicts the pressure inside the roles better than a permanent label. Second, what did each next move make the other person do? Did another question create clarity or more retreat? Did silence create calm or more pursuit? Third, was a break bounded by a real return time? A pause without follow-through is not completed regulation. It is an unfinished interaction. Fourth, did the pair repair after the decision? Repair can be small, a corrected summary, a softer restart, an acknowledgement that the tone caused harm even when the concern was valid. These questions do not diagnose anyone. Most of the evidence behind this explanation comes from studies of romantic couples, so it should not be stretched into a law for every friendship, family, or workplace. But the interaction principle is easy to observe. Behavior gains meaning from the response it triggers and the pattern it joins. Return to the lateness argument. Maya is not automatically the difficult one because she asked 3 times. Leo is not automatically uncaring because he went quiet. The useful evidence arrives next. Can Maya turn the complaint into one requested change? Can Leo name a return time instead of disappearing? Can either person notice that the second move is feeding the first? Then change the issue to spending and watch the arrows reverse. That reversal is the clue. The conflict is not simply revealing 2 permanent types. It is organizing 2 people around change, pressure, protection, and uncertainty. One person chases the argument because stopping can feel like surrendering the problem. The other shuts down because continuing can feel like surrendering control. The loop weakens when the issue stays visible and the next move becomes predictable. Name the change, bound the pause, return when promised, then repair the interaction, not only the decision. Please subscribe for more animated investigations of the patterns between people.